Senator Gatti, you wish to speak?
Thank you, Mr. President. I think what we have to remember here when we hear case names, and as a lawyer, I like to find out the facts behind a case. And in the Montgomery case, and I'll try to get through this, what happened is there was this East Baton Rouge Parish juvenile officer, and his name was Charles Hunt. And he was going by the school to look for some kids that had done some things that were wrong. And Mr. Montgomery, hiding in the woods, shot him with a .22 and killed him. A police officer. An East Baton Rouge Parish police officer. Now, we've talked about our oath, and I respect Mr. Luna more than he knows. But we also stood up here a few weeks ago, Senator Perry, with the great ceremony that you put on. And we met a lot of kids who lost their parents. And we honor, every day in here, we honor. We couldn't do our job without the officers that walk the streets. And every day they put their lives on the lines for us. This is a tough bill. This is a tough thing to vote about. But you know, Becky Wilson is Charles Hunt's daughter. And she says that she had to forgive Mr. Montgomery. First trial, Mr. Montgomery was given the death sentence. But then he got another trial, and they gave him life. And then he tried to escape from prison with some other men. He was eventually successful in that. And what Miss Wilson says, who's now 60, she says, unfortunately, our sentence has no way of being overturned or commuted. We live with this forever. My mother served a life sentence without her husband. My brother, sister, and I have all served a life sentence without our father. My children, nieces, and nephews have served a sentence and of never knowing their grandfather. So I know we kind of trivialize this, and many of us kind of in our gut feel uneasy. And we were talking about this bill today. Y'all remember that? Kind of walking around saying, this just doesn't pass the smell test. There's something, there's got to be something more to this story. And so let's remember that for every victim, there's a family. And in this case, this young officer who died in 1963 serving the parish that we're sitting in was killed with a .22. He had been on the job 1 year and 4 months, and he was a juvenile officer. Now, I know we have to do some things when the Supreme Court tells us to. I just wonder if those folks in Washington, D.C. asked about Miss Wilson and her brothers and sisters and the grandkids and the nieces and nephews. I wondered if they considered the fact that this man was given not just one, but two trials. Two trials. First sentenced to death, which is tough for a jury to do. Many juries decide not to do that. Then he got another trial and was allowed to have a life sentence. He's asked to be let out of jail many, many times, and they won't let him out. But if you could see the pictures that I'm looking at of Linda and Becky and Charles and Mike Hurt during Christmas of 1962, this was the last Christmas he had with his family before Charles was killed. So however you vote on this bill, I know there's no right way or wrong way to vote on this bill. I'm not trying to tell you how to vote. I just wanted y'all to consider the fact that this wasn't just a murder out on the street. This was an officer in the line of duty doing his job. And this family, the Hurt family, went through a lot during those two trials in the 60s. And they served their life sentence. I just hope that you'll consider that as you vote. Thank you, Mr. President.
All right, sir.